What is up? Need for Speed Racers, it is I, your wheelman, Alex Cornnut. We're back, $1 Billion Builds, episode 27, where I take $1 billion. I build every car in the game, in every class that it fits, so that way, no matter what you want to drive, in any class that it fits, I've got something here for you. We are driving today the Acura RSX front-wheel drive Slayer. This car is actually a lot of fun to drive. It's pretty decent at S-Class. It used to be meta at A. And I've got some updates to the builds, and so if you have this car already in the garage, you might check, maybe tweak a few things, maybe not. Go with what you feel. If you're comfortable, keep what you got. But at the end of the day, if you don't have this one yet, it's pretty fun to drive. That all being said, it is a front-wheel drive car, so it does not drift. It's kind of weird in that style. So drift racing is really not on the table, but it does get it done. Let's dive right into B class. Let me show you what we've got. This car is overall pretty good. I think B class is probably one of its weakest classes because it's not a cheese build. It doesn't go, 130 and have hundreds and hundreds of horsepower. It goes like 140 and it's got some horsepower. So let me show you what we have here. For the performance side of things, the engine you're going to use is the first engine over, the 2.0 liter inline 4. That's the best one to build on for B class, and it does all right. For the parts, it is Iron Basic, both induction and ECU. You're going to go Silver Pro fuel system, Iron Basic exhaust, Elite Platinum Roots supercharger. You're going to keep the stock nitrous, Elite Platinum road suspension. You're going to go with stock brakes, and then you're going to do Elite Platinum grip tires. You're going to use the stock clutch and then tear down the transmission. Make sure that you put the Sport Bronze 5-speed transmission in the car. Otherwise, it doesn't fit in the class. Elite Platinum differential, definitely, so that way we can get the most out of the handling slider. Auxiliaries, yes, you want to have them. I micro drift, so I do drift and grip when I set that up. For the handling, it is a full Beyonce build, so slide that slider all the way to the left, full Beyonce, 100% grip, steering sensitivity 2 clicks high, downforce all the way high. Traction control off, drift entry, brake tap. What that gives you is 146 for the top speed. It does get there eventually. It's going to get walked in B. It's not that great. 315 for the horsepower, 221 on the torque in foot-pounds, US Freedom units. If you're in oppression units, I don't know what that converts to Newton meters. Overall, it's okay in B class. Nothing to write home about. It gets considerably better as we start to tier up, and then S plus is a total joke, so don't worry about that one. Let me show you what we've got for A. For A class, it's pretty good. It used to be meta. Like, this is over a year ago. We didn't know all the builds yet. We didn't really have all the testing done. And so at the early stages of the game, this was a really good car to have in A class. And so I would consider it to be an off-meta Slayer. I mean, it gets it done. It's a very good car. I'm not saying it's the best. There's lots of cars in front of it. But if you want something that's a front-wheel drive, that's actually pretty fun to drive, this is a good one to go with. And I'm going to give you guys a piece of information that I think is very important, and I like to tuck it into the build section because a lot of people just grab a screenshot and then they don't get educated. So for those of you that actually watch the long form content, this is really for you. The engine that we're going to use is the 6th engine over. It is the 2.5 liter flat 4, 360 brake horsepower. When we start, that is the Sport Bronze engine. For the parts, it comes with Sport Bronze parts already, so you're only going to have to upgrade the fuel system. So it is Sport Bronze induction and ECU, Silver Pro fuel system, Sport Bronze exhaust, and then you're going to run the Silver Pro Roots supercharger. You're going to keep the stock NOS. Now here's the tip I wanted to give you guys. You'll probably have noticed that I run Elite Platinum road suspension on everything. The reason for that is you actually accelerate faster with that suspension. A lot of people do not know that. I see other builders and other people drop into my comment section on a lot of videos. This happened a little bit over the last couple of days. People are like, well, I've got this build and it's better. And I'm looking at it, I'm like, you guys, you're not using the right suspension. Side by side, usually the trade-off, like if you go with a regular suspension or a lower tier suspension to get a few more points so you can put more horsepower in it, when you do race those cars side by side, the one with the better suspension will outperform, outhandle, outcorner the one with more horsepower. And so we default to good tires and good suspension because that's a good base, and then you build up the engine from there because the trade-off for worse suspension for more horsepower is not a good trade-off. So by default, if you are building your cars at home and you're wanting to experiment with stuff, you really do want to put on the Elite Platinum road suspension first and then work around that, because that's going to give you the best overall racing setup. Now, if you're doing drift racing, if you're doing drag racing, or something else like that, not drift racing but drifting for points, you can do whatever suspension you want, because at that point you're looking for different aspects of the car. But when it comes to getting around the track with the best lap times, Elite Platinum road suspension is the way to go for sure. Tested and proven, and that's why all of the builds that we put on this channel have that, and it's because it really is the best way to get it going. So keep that in mind, you guys. Don't tear down your suspension for more horsepower. That's not a good trade, and when you bring me that build because you've got more horsepower and torque, that's not the whole story. Just so you know, food for thought. We do keep the stock brakes because we don't care. We don't want to stop. We want to go faster. And then we run the Elite Platinum grip tires. It's a grip build. This car really doesn't slide too well. We do keep the stock clutch. And then once again, we keep the 5-speed Sport Bronze transmission. So make sure you guys put that in there. And then Elite Platinum differential. Absolutely. That way it fits in the class. And then auxiliaries. Yes, you want to have them. Handling slider all the way to the left. Full Beyonce. 100% grip. Steering sensitivity, I'm running 2 clicks high, as I always do. You do you. Downforce. Now, you run 2 clicks to the right of center. 1, 2. That's a 209. You can do from there all the way to the rest of the right. You can basically do anything you want with it as long as you go further on the downforce and not less. It doesn't really matter. There was nothing I could really do with that point, and so I just did a little less downforce. But at the end of the day, it's pretty much the most optimal build you can get out of the A class. Traction control off, drift entry, I run brake tap. You guys do you, Pikachu. That is going to give you a top speed of about 162, 163 with Redline Tech, 382 for your horsepower, 331 on your torque. Like I say, the car's pretty good in A class. I rather like it. I would encourage you guys to try it. Let me show you what we've got for A+. A+ class, there was 2 different engines to go with, and between the two, I went with the one that was prettier on paper. Point blank. I tested them side by side with lap timer and stuff, and really, like, they were within margin of error for my performance, not margin of error like one was better than the other. And so when that's the case, this one was just way cooler on paper, so that's the one you guys get for sure. So let me show you what we got here. The engine that we are using is the 4th engine over, 1, 2, 3, and 4. It is the 2.6 liter inline 6, 276 brake horsepower when we start. And you'll see over on the right, we have 511 on the horsepower, 511 on the torque, and 11.1 on the quarter mile. Quarter mile doesn't matter, by the way, you guys. It's a completely broken, stupid stat, but like, that's really pretty. So that's what you guys got. Aesthetically, it's very pleasing, and overall, it's actually a really good engine. Like, the only other thing that I could test it against, and when this was within half, like not a tenth, but 0.05 of the other one, I was like, nah, they're too close. I'll go with this one. So that's what you get. The parts, you're doing Super Gold Induction, Elite Platinum ECU, and then you're going to do Iron Basic, both fuel system and exhaust. Elite Platinum Roots Supercharger. I tried it with the screw. I could not make it fit. It was not a happy boy. We're with the Roots, you guys. And you're going to run stock nitrous, as we always do. Elite Platinum Road Suspension, stock brakes, Elite Platinum grip tires, you know the game. And then stock clutch, 5-speed transmission, make sure you put it in there. Elite Platinum differential. In this case, for this build specifically, you guys could get away with the bronze if you wanted to, because we don't have full grip. Auxiliaries, yes, you want to make sure you have it in there. Drift and grip, that's what I like to run, micro drifting. Handling slider, 70% grip is the best that I could do and still keep all of the power that's in the car. That's a decent trade-off because this car is not rowdy anyway, and so at the end of the day, the 70% grip wasn't a big enough change from 100% grip for me to really be too worried about it. It still drives just fine, and you've got enough horsepower and torque that it actually performs pretty well. Steering sensitivity, 2 clicks high, that's me. Downforce all the way high, absolutely. A 269 is where that fits, or A+, I guess. Traction control off, drift entry, brake tap. Now guys, this isn't a busted build. We've got some A-class slayers that have tons and tons of power. This is a good mid-range car. It will get around the track fast. If you learn to drive it, you're going to be plenty competitive. You'll go dust any pub lobby you get into for the most part, but there are cars that are a lot better in A+ class. So don't just think that this is something crazy, but overall it does it gets it done. If you don't have this car, you should build it in a couple of these classes and try it out, because it's a lot of fun. And I'm rather enjoying it because we're using different engines for a lot of the different builds, and that really shows that the car is kind of all over the place. And it goes to show you guys that when I'm going through the build portion of it, I am building out every engine and testing everything, so that way you're getting the very best bang for your buck in every class that we can put it in, so that way you know what's good. Let me show you what we've got for S. In the S class, we have got a little different setup than what I originally had on the channel. So if you already have this car, you might give this one a go. Give it a look. Don't get me wrong, if you are comfortable with the current setup for your car, don't worry about it. But if you want to change some stuff, try this one out. I'm really happy with this right now. It was feeling the best when I was driving around. So engine that we're using is the third engine over. It is the 5.2 liter V12, 449 brake horsepower when we start. That is the Sport Bronze engine. For the parts, we do Sport Bronze induction, Elite Platinum ECU, Sport Bronze fuel system, Elite Platinum exhaust, and Elite Platinum Roots supercharger. Stock, Sport Bronze nitrous, Elite Platinum road suspension, iron basic brakes, Elite Platinum grip tires. We are running the stock clutch. Now here's the deal. We're running the 7-speed transmission. The 5-speed takes it out of the class because it has a better 0 to 60. Real cool. When you go to the Silver Pro, it makes the 0 to 60 a little better than the 7-speed, but worse than the 5-speed, so it gets us a little closer to the class. And then the Super Gold 7-speed keeps it at S329. I tested both of these. You can adjust the downforce one click and make the 6-speed fit, so it's not a noticeable difference in handling. The 7-speed overall, because you have more gears, more better, it felt a lot faster because you're getting into the power and staying in it sooner because the gear ratios are closer. Overall, it was just a better car for me to drive. I enjoyed the 7-speed a lot more than the 6. 5th and 6th felt omega long in the you were in the gear too long and it felt like it was accelerating slowly. In the 7-speed, you don't feel that way, so I would highly recommend the 7-speed. And because it nerfs the 0 to 60 that we don't give a shit about, it's a good way to go. So 7-speed transmission, Elite Platinum diff, and then auxiliaries, yes, put them on the car. Handling slider, 85% grip is to how to make this whole build fit. So slide that slider to the left, 85%. Steering sensitivity, whatever. Downforce all the way high. That's how I've got it in the class right now. That is S329. Traction control off, drift entry, brake tap. Overall, that's going to give you a top speed of about 202 with Redline Tech. 765 on the horsepower, 606 on the torque. It gets it done. This is a really great S-Class build. It is not meta, but it is a lot of fun to drive. It is a very good car, and out of all of the classes, I probably will keep it in S because there's a lot of good cars in S that this does keep up with, and it's got a decent enough top speed that you're not going to get walked by anything. And if you pull up against somebody that's in an R8 and you happen to be on fish hook, you can actually walk away from them because you've got a little bit higher top speed. So that's kind of cool. Go beat R8s in this. It's not an R8 Slayer, but it's decent enough. All right, let me show you what we have for S Plus because you guys are always omega concerned about the car that is not the Regera. We're not finding a Regera Slayer, you guys. It doesn't exist. The Regera is best. It is Bay. Let me show you. Woo! S Plus. So anyway, do you guys like yo-yos? I've got a Yo-Yo Factory Replay. This is my personal favorite yo-yo. I've got about 12 of them, but I like this one. It's plastic body, so it doesn't hurt me when I mess up. And it's got a really long sleep time. So it's a plastic body shell, butterfly design, meaning that it's kind of like got like butterfly wings from a side profile. Gives you lots of room to land it on the string and do string tricks. And the sleep time is really, really long, which is really cool. So when you throw a sleeper, it's down for quite a long time. This is not your dad's Duncan. If you know what I'm talking about, shout out to you. If you don't know what I'm talking about, get off the fidget spinner life and get onto the yo-yo life. I really like these yo-yos. I mean, you can just do tons of string tricks, whatever you want. It goes. And I would encourage all of you guys, if you are parents, if you're an uncle, if you're a brother to somebody that is younger, or even somebody that's not younger, get them a decent yo-yo. Spend 25 or 30 bucks. There's people that are out there playing with fidget spinners still. Fidget toys and poppets are a thing now. That's a joke. You learn no dexterity and you gain nothing. Learning string tricks on a yo-yo is awesome. It's a cool little talent to have. There's actually competitions for that. I have yet to see anybody competitively go mess with a fidget toy and see how fast they can press the little buttons that do nothing. That's a joke. That's like getting a rattle for a baby, but for an adolescent. No. Yo-yos are the game. So anyway, S Plus engine that we build out is the same one that we built out for S. We just add a little more power to it. So out of all the engines, it's either the 5.2 liter V12. It's got more horsepower, less torque, lower top speed. The 5.2 liter V12 only goes to 220, but you've got more horsepower, so you get there a little sooner. The overall fastest engine is going to be the last engine over. That's the 2.9 liter V8. It has less horsepower, more torque, higher top speed. It'll do 225, but you're still getting walked because it's S Plus, and a lot of cars will do 235, 245 if you're playing somebody that knows how to play the game and they're in the Regera. Fight me in the comments if you don't like the Regera. I don't care. It's the best car in the game. If you're going to drive the fastest class, you drive the fastest car, and if you can't drive it, it's a skill issue. There's a lot of people that I see that are like, oh, the Regera, that car's so easy. It's an automatic win. I'm like, come race me. I bet you I can DNF you on some tracks. It's a skill issue car. And it's harder to drive now than it ever has been because they adjusted the way that we interact with curbs, and it makes some of these cars feel omega twitchy. It's insane. Anyway, engine 2.9 liter, Elite Platinum, all of it. Put this screw supercharger in it because it gives you the overall best performance, I guess. It doesn't matter. Yeah, all Elite Platinum, all the parts. It's cool. You 811 on the horsepower, 738 on the torque. Buy your kids a yo-yo. Drop a comment down below on if you've had a yo-yo, what yo-yo you like, how many yo-yos you've owned, if you've never owned a yo-yo, and let's fuck up the YouTube algorithm with my comment section because that is my favorite thing to do. And eventually there's people that make it to my videos for no reason other than your guys' comments talking about yo-yos. That happened with the chess set, it happened with the shoes, and it's funny. I love it. So I appreciate all you guys. Let's have fun with it. You guys have a great rest of your day. Like the video, please. We're like 10%. It's actually like 14% off my last video. So there's 14% of you guys that are legends. Like, you click the button, it helps out the video, it literally puts it in front of more people than it normally would, and that is huge for my channel. It actually gets better ads on my channel too, so I make just a little bit more money off these videos. It's not even quite $10 per video, but I am trying. We'll see how it goes. But I'm thankful to you guys. You have a great rest of your day. We'll see you next time. Yo-yo comment down below. Bye-bye.